Welcome to Backpage Blues Part 2. I am still privileged to be joined by Charlie the Hurricane Skillen from the Mail Online. This is my favourite part of the week. This is where we go through and answer as many of your questions as possible. So thank you very much for getting them into us. I suppose we should make a start. I've just realised that I haven't prepped, so I'm going to have to share your card, I'm afraid. Sorry.
He's been away.
Charlie's prepped, I haven't. I'm going to copy your homework. Right, Charlie, do you think that we've done the right thing by keeping faith in the current squad?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we always talk about we want players to be loyal to the club, loyal to the fans, but loyalty works both ways. Those players were fantastic last season, winning the Premier League in such comprehensive fashion. It's not a squad that needed ripping apart. It's not the squad that needed 10 new additions. Those players earned the right to defend their title and challenge on different fronts next season. So, yeah, I mean, of course we were right to keep faith with them because they did so well. You know, I'd be interested to see how well Chelsea get on in Europe, but you know, there's not a whole lot of players that could have come in and improved the Chelsea first team.
Just to play devil's advocate, I think you've raised a brilliant point there, and I think that loyalty does indeed work both ways. Mm-hmm. But just to you know, hear the other side of the same coin, it wouldn't have been disloyal to have signed a Pogba or a Gareth Bale, would it? It wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't. But I think those two players in particular are ones that everyone at the club wanted, and you know, even the existing players there, you know, can't help but be improved by playing with players of that calibre. But players like that were not available. I mean, yeah. Gareth Bale is not going to be leaving Madrid, and you know, it looked like there might have been a time where he might have left Real Madrid this summer, and Chelsea were interested in him. It's a fact, but
I was interested in him. I wrote a piece for the Mail Online about how much I wanted him at Chelsea. I think it would have been a fantastic addition.
This doesn't just work one way. he always pitches in and helps the Mail out. You know, Pogba is going to be going to Barcelona after their transfer ban ends. So it doesn't matter whether Chelsea want Bale, Pogba, or Lionel Messi, or Zinedine Zidane. It's not happening.
I see.
At least this summer anyway. So, okay. in terms of a real kind of first team, you know, we're not playing a game of FIFA. We can't just sign whoever the hell we want. You know, there's lots of factors to be considered, and I think we've added to the squad without adding to the first team.
Lovely.
I'll ask you the next question. With that in mind, Alex Hawks has asked. Cheers for your question, Alex. What are your realistic expectations for Chelsea next season?
Easy to retain the Premier League. That is my.
That sounds easy.
It's certainly not easy. It's a very, very ambitious task. One that, you know, is full of like pitfalls. It's a really difficult thing to do, particularly retaining a championship. It's very difficult, but that is my realistic ambition. That's exactly what I want. Of course, if I'm going to dream, I think about winning every evening. I dream about going to the San Siro and watching John Terry lift the European Cup, having scored a winner in the 90th minute. But realistic ambitions. I think the key to Alex's question is a realistic ambition, and that is the Premier League. Please retain the Premier League. You?
Yeah, I mean, look, Chelsea have to be aiming to win the Premier League. We all know they are. That has to be, at club at Chelsea level, that has to be the base goal for every single season. I was really disappointed with Chelsea in Europe last season, especially the manner we went out. I thought our performance at home against PSG was just disgraceful, to be honest. Yeah. So, you know, these things are always difficult in terms of who you get in the draw and stuff. And my realistic expectation is that Chelsea reach, you know, hopefully the semi-finals of the Champions League.
I think that's attainable. I think that's too ambitious.
You know, and obviously retaining the Premier League. I mean, you know, I certainly expect Chelsea to be challenging on the last day. Yeah. That'd be kind of my main hope. But retaining the Premier League, you've got to be a real special team to do that. And I think
this team have the minerals for that, though.
They do. You know, and you know, if you read all the predictions in the media and stuff, you know, there's barely anyone who doesn't think Chelsea are favourites to win the league, and at this point, I think Chelsea are.
Good. Next question is: given our pre-season, do you think that we're going to struggle this season?
I don't think pre-season scores mean a thing, and that includes the Community Shield. You know, Mourinho doesn't care about the results. He cares about the performances. He cares about the players working together. He cares about bringing the odd new person in.
And we did well. We were in the States, and we went to.
In case you hadn't heard,
we went to the 3 games out there, and we did. I think we played really well. We were sloppy against New York. We didn't really come alive at all. Yeah. But aside from that, I thought we played really well, culminating in a really, really. The game ended a draw, but it was a hard-fought draw against Barcelona, with Gary Cahill sort of breaking his nose in the process of equalising, showing the spirit and desire that this team need. I think that it wasn't quite the disastrous. I know we haven't won a game, but it wasn't quite the disastrous in 90 minutes at least. But it's a good pre-season. The players are fit, they're sharp, or they will be by the time we play Swansea. It's all that matters.
The one thing that I took from the games, watching the games on that tour, is that I thought Chelsea's improvement over the course of 3 games was really noticeable. I thought, the New York performance was pretty poor. Played pretty well against PSG, and then I thought we played very, very well against Barcelona. And in fact, even at Wembley, I thought we kept the ball well. I just think it was a case of who we were up against. I think Arsenal played, I think, 2 or 3 more pre-season games than we had. I think they were that week 10 days ahead of us in terms of preparation. So,
but that they could pay for that. Come when you're playing 4 games in 10 days or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't think winning or losing against New York Red Bulls in your first game for 2 months has any bearing on the league title.
Actually, this is a really interesting one. Actually, this question recently on Twitter, I put up a graphic of Bobby. It was a graphic of Bobby Robson, and just some writing about what his approach to being a football fan, what it meant to him, and how he discovered his love of football and I suppose Newcastle United. Somebody's commented underneath and asked what we think a football fan should be. So that graphic's up now if you want to see it. But
what do you think a football fan should be?
Well, I think the purpose of a football fan, I suppose you can approach it from 2 angles. I think that there's one approach would be sort of unilateral, partisan, unequivocal support, where you appeal for every offside in your favour. You think the ref gets everything wrong that he gives against you.
That's known as the Rory Jennings model.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to a degree. To a degree, I'm like that. I also think that a football fan, wherever you're watching the game, whether you're watching the game in a pub, whether you're watching the game in the stadium, I think that your divine right and your purpose is to make a racket.
Yeah.
Like wherever you are, wherever you're watching it, let people know you're there. Be present. Mm-hmm. But I think that, so aside from making a racket, I think that support is essential. Whether there were times when Torres used to drive me mental, but I would never resort to booing him. For the 90, I would talk to you about it in the pub afterwards. Yeah. And if we were doing this, then I would talk to you guys at home, and I'd say I hate the guy or whatever. But if that was how I felt on it, if he missed an open goal at Old Trafford and we were speaking about it on a Monday, that is how I would have felt. But during the 90 minutes while I was at that game at Old Trafford, it would have been nothing but unilateral, vocal love.
Yeah, love. I'm very much in agreement with that. I think, we're lucky enough to kind of live in London, go to the games, go to the away games. We travel all over the world watching Chelsea. There's a lot of people who can't do that. So, being a football fan can take many different forms. The one thing I would say, I think, I'm always a believer in supporting the club and the colours of the club and the badge, rather than certain players or certain managers, because they just leave you and break your heart. So
yeah, I think that's absolutely true. It's a love of Chelsea. It's never beyond that.
I think one of the best things I've ever seen was after Mourinho left the first time, and there was, obviously, as was their right, the media went absolutely mental. Everyone went absolutely mental. It was actually, you can only imagine it now because it was before the days of Twitter and all that kind of thing. Chelsea just literally exploded, and the only voice of reason was Ron Harris. Obviously, you couldn't get a more kind of person, embedded in Chelsea, and he was just like, "There'll always be a Chelsea. Chelsea was there before Mourinho, be there after Mourinho," and that's exactly right. And Chelsea was there before us, and it'll be after we're all gone as well. So, for me, it's fundamental about the club and the colours and the stadium and people's right to wear that shirt.
Just going to put a little disclaimer in here. He's given a wonderful answer, but he hasn't once mentioned making a racket. I've sat next to him at an awful lot of football matches, and he's a complete nuisance. Whatever side he sits, you end up with a really sore ear the next day. So don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. He conforms to the making a racket more than anybody else.
I think the only thing that people cared about on your American tour was why I wasn't there.
Yeah, somebody had. Well, the question is, why weren't you in America, Charlie? It wasn't anything. My dream was to go to America.
No. Honestly,
I still dream that dream. It will happen one day. With or without Chelsea, we're going to America together. Like Thelma and Louise of London.
Doing Route 66, all coast to coast. No, look. I'm sure you've all watched their videos out there. They did an amazing job. I watched them all at home. But yeah, no. I've got my day job as well. I was doing my usual work for the Mail. But yeah, I was following their travels and obviously following the fortunes of Chelsea out there. I thought the love that I saw from Americans for Chelsea, you know, and obviously
brilliant. They were incredible. The USA supporters, they were fantastic.
You and
Honestly,
Jack making
blew
absolute
my mind.
nuisance of yourself with the flag
Completely.
and stuff. And that amazing night with Frank Lampard, you know,
it was a dream come true.
I absolutely loved kind of being in touch with them during the tour and stuff.
And don't worry, it will happen when the European draw is done. We'll certainly be gallivanting. We'll be gallivanting around the Bernabeu together.
Absolutely.
You will see that. That will happen.
Absolutely.
I promise you.
And last question. From Adam on Twitter.
See, this wasn't. I didn't put my questions on my card because I forgot. But this wasn't even on my list to put on. I've just seen it on your list.
We talk about the youth team all the time. They want to know about the youth prospect Rory Jennings. How's he playing? What's he doing?
He's
I think
a solid right back. a very solid right back.
Right back in the dressing room.
Right back. Yeah.
I think they've got you confused. I think they mean Charlie Colkett. Not gonna lie.
There we go. Just one more thing to talk about before we move on. Jack, throw that in. Oh, bloody hell!
That's in quarterback out in America.
Yeah. This T-shirt was up for grabs recently, and Jack won it. I've announced it a couple of times. Jack Mellis. Jack Mellis won it. I don't think Jack Mellis wants this T-shirt because we haven't heard anything from him.
I'm going to take it if.
So he can't have it, but you can. So if this video, what should we say? 500 comments?
Yeah, do it.
If this video gets 500 comments,
get your questions in for next week.
And if you want this T-shirt, leave a comment. I will pick somebody who has said the word T-shirt in the comments, assuming it gets 500.
Because we did tell him he had to claim it
twice,
and he had to send a picture.
And the other guy, Jack Caban, won a photograph. I've sent it to him, and look at this. Here it is. This is by his bedside. Boom. That's what we want. That's what we want. So the only caveat, if you do win this T-shirt,
and slightly worrying dedication there. Cheers,
you have to send a picture of us wearing this T-shirt.
Yeah.
But if this video gets 500, someone will win it, and I'll post it out to you. Sorry, Jack. Can't help you. I've assumed that you've given up on the ChelseaFansChannel. Comment below, guys. Let us know what you think, and get your questions in because the next time we do this, we could be answering your question. Got it, champions.
Birth and even like Jess Hodge, you know, experienced international defenders when he was coming through, and he said he's always been a man for kind of trying to take a bit from each of them.
Yeah,
and, you know, I mean, Stones seems to have his head screwed on in that manner. We've seen plenty of